These are my top production plugins that I use for every production that I do. Big warning before you carry on watching this video. If you believe that the plugin is what makes your music sound better, this video is not for you. This video is for you if you want to get the best results using stock plugins, using plugins that you already have with your DAW. Now, I've been guilty of buying plugins that I don't need, buying to the latest hype of the latest EQ, compressors, and all types of plugin for music production. And I realized along the way that actually the plugin is not what makes my music sound better, it's my ears. Now, I come from the engineering background, sound engineering. I used to work in a recording studio. I studied sound engineering when I was growing up, and I used to believe that using a valve preamp or using the most vintage valve mic preamp will make my recording sound better. Using the most expensive microphones will make my guitar sound better. The reality is that you can get a very pro sound quality using tools that you already have, and better still, tools that come with your DAW. So whether you're using Cubase, whether you're using Pro Tools, whether you're using Logic, these DAWs come already with plugins that you can produce music right now without the need of spending more money. But before you press the dislike button on this video, I've been addicted to plugins myself. At one point, I had the whole collection of Waves plugin. When I was using Pro Tools, I had every single plugin that Waves have made. The SSL collection, I mean, it's just crazy. All the EQs that they had released at that time, I spent some quite substantial amount of money with all of this plugin collection. Nowadays, if you go to Waves plugins or any other plugin company, you see how the prices have dropped quite a lot. They're really affordable. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't invest in these plugins. I'm just here to tell you that you don't need to spend money on certain EQs and compressors in order to get top quality sound recording. Now, coming from the sound engineering background as I have, and as well as a musician, as a guitarist, this idea and notion about gear and using a vintage guitar that it was played by Jimi Hendrix back in the day, that somehow that will sound better than a brand new affordable guitar, it comes down to a sense of perception. And again, it's not about the instrument, it's about the guitar player. And if you're a guitar player, you know the tone of the guitar is not even because of the actual guitar or the amp or the valves that you're using on the amp. The tone of the guitar comes from your hands. Now, if you want to get into music licensing, or even if you're making music licensing per se, you only need a few plugins. Now, you don't need to create this massive collection of plugins in your DAW because you're only going to be overwhelming yourself. That was my story every single time I will try to record a new song for my catalog. What I realized is that by only using an EQ, a compressor, and a limiter in my mixes, this is all I need. Okay, back in the day when you would go to a recording studio, and when I was working in a recording studio, we only had in the mixer, we had a few inboards in the actual channel strip, an EQ, a compressor. And these are the bread and butter of any music production. You just need an EQ and a compressor just to treat that sound in every single channel. Now, somehow, now that we're using all of these virtual instruments and we're recorded in our laptops, now we find ourselves with endless selection of endless plugins to treat our sounds. Even if you have been using just stock sounds that come with your DAW, you will realize very quickly that you have not only everything that you need for your music production, but you have more than what you need. So a lot of people use this excuse that my sounds and my mixes are not where they need to be because I don't have this plugin or I haven't invested in this EQ that this famous producer is using in all of his mixes. This is a mindset that holds back a lot of people that want to get better at music production. When we're composing music for licensing, we are everything. We are the composer, we are the musician, we're the producer, we're the sound engineer, we're the mixer, we're the master, we're pretty much everything. We're even the manager of our music, meaning that we have to get this music out of our head, put it in the DAW, mix it, master it, produce it, and then put it into the world, give it a title, description, tax. We have to deal with all aspects of music production and the music business of music licensing. So if we add more plugins and we fall into this trap that we need to use this EQ and this compressor in order to make our music sound better, we're going into a rabbit hole of never-ending pursuit of purchasing more plugins. Now, of course, there are some sound libraries and some VSTs that are crucial for making certain types of music, and you can definitely invest on those. For me as a guitarist, all I need is a guitar, and all I need is a plugin like the bias effect, like I was mentioning on my latest video. I just need a preamp. I just need a virtual amp to get my sounds for my guitar. That's my priority. I just buy it once and that's it. I update it, meaning that I update the software because it's a software, and that's that. I don't go and buy a different amp for my guitar next week and pretend that that's gonna make my sound better. There's many preamps and virtual amps out there in the market. I only need one. So the same philosophy is with EQs. I don't need 5,000 different EQs in order to EQ my music. I don't need hundreds and thousands of compressors out there in order to compress my guitar or my drums or anything that I'm making for that matter. The same is with every single other aspect of music production. When it comes down to a VST, a piano VST or some strings, I use whatever comes with Logic. This is what my teachings are based on. Just using free stuff, stuff that you already own. Either you're using Cubase or any other DAW. These things could be used in a very good way in order to create professional sounding recordings. And the most important thing that is when I'm teaching somebody on how to make music, I just say, hey, I'm using this compressor. You probably have the same compressor that I have, or you probably have an even better compressor. So now you have no excuse to say, well, your music sounds better because you're using this special plugin from Waves or whatever, right? So that's my philosophy. My philosophy is like, hey, this is how I'm making this music. Most of those plugins and VSTs are for free that are out there. They're just fantastic. Spitfire Audio has this whole series of labs plugins that you can use for free. The pianos and all of these instruments, they sound amazing. You can create music just using that. Now that doesn't mean that you're not going to invest on better plugins and better samples that they are releasing. I'm just saying that you can't use that as an excuse, right? So I've been using labs. I've been using different plugins that are free of charge. They're great. And I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't spend money and invest in plugins. I'm just saying not to use that as an excuse to not make better music. Actually, if you want to create better music, you need to learn how to use the stuff that you already have. The free plugins that come with your DAW, those are the plugins that you need to master. If you can master those EQs and know how to use a stock EQ and a stock compressor really well, you can go tomorrow and then invest some money on a better EQ or a better quote-unquote compressor, which makes you believe that actually it's a better compressor because of the plugin and whatnot, and that will make your music sound better. And at the end of the day, nobody's going to notice, right? Nobody's going to notice what compressor you're using, and nobody cares. The only people that care about what compressor and EQs you're using is your other composer's friend and your music producer's friend. That's it. Right? I come from that world. I had a friend back in England who would just get into discussions about what preamps were better than the other ones or what converters were better in the studio and whatnot. I don't care about that. I care about the art of making music, not what valves are in some preamp that I'm going to put my microphone there to record my acoustic guitar. I hope this video doesn't sound like a rant, but I just want to help you that either you have been there like I have, having way too many plugins to produce music and get overwhelmed by it and still thinking that my music will sound better because I'm using an SSL Waves plugin. Nothing against them, by the way, I love them. But I realized that by using the EQ that comes with Logic, I can get the same result, if not better. And actually my music today sounds better now than when I was using those plugins back in the day. There is hope. I have gotten better along the way, and I realized that it's not the plugins, it's my ears. It's the way I make the music. It's the decision makings that I am making while I'm making the music. Using free plugins, using stuff that is already there for me available. And now I feel confident that even tomorrow, if I switch my DAW from Logic to Ableton or Cubase or whatever plugins are there in that DAW, I'm feeling very confident that I can just make my music happen. And I don't feel bogged down, or I don't feel this mental thing that is like, well, if I'm changing tomorrow to this DAW, I better bring my handful of secret plugins that is gonna make my music sound like this. It's gonna make my sound. This is a mindset that a lot of musicians and producers have, and they believe that they can actually not sound the way they wanna sound if they don't bring their plugins into the session. You must be able to make your music sound the way it should sound by using whatever you have at your disposal. Making music and mixing music and music production is an art. It's not about the actual tools, it's how you use the tools. I hope this video finds you well. Thank you so much for all the love and support. If you're new to music licensing, if you would like to learn how to make music for stock libraries, download my free guide, link in the description. And as always, rock and roll, and here's to your success.